Hello again, UWA Elite fans. I am the man of 1,000 spreadsheets, MC Hale, and let me start by apologizing for the late production on this card rundown. We've had some big last-minute announcements that we knew you would want to hear about. So let's talk about Dangerous Uprisings. Our Dino-themed supercard will be taking place this Saturday, April 26th, 6 p.m. doors, and the action gets underway at 6:30. Of course, we'll be at the UWA Elite Army Base at the South River VFW, 31 Reid Street in South River, New Jersey. Once again, this is a Dino-themed event, including ticket giveaways to Field Station Dinosaur and Edelman Fossil Park and Museum. So make sure you are in your Brachiosaur best, or else you might just get Jurassic kicked. Let's get to the matches. Well, let's start with that big news I alluded to earlier. As you know, the Old Guard is now down to half of its membership following the UWA Elite title victory of Joey Adams, and then last month, TJ Blade's attack on both Mike Seaway and Chris Powers. It's not the first time Blade has turned on his former Protein Pack teammate. I mean, they've referred to each other as brothers in the past. But according to Seaway, it will certainly be the last. The de facto leader of the Old Guard, Chris Powers, has not been medically cleared to wrestle at Dangerous Uprisings, and in his stead has ordered Seaway not only to take on and defeat Blade, but in the words of the Hollywood stuntman, take him out. And that translated to a challenge of not just victory, but each man putting their UWA Elite futures on the line. Yes, the loser of TJ Blade versus Mike Seaway will leave the company permanently. But that's not all. You see, Seaway wants there to be no mistaking his intentions here. He said that he is willing to do whatever it takes to make Powers proud, and that means he somehow managed to up the challenge even further, to a no-holds-barred match. Blade responded saying that since Powers sided with the man he referred to as a walking failure, his words, not mine, or not even Cypress's, but Blade would indeed accept that stipulation and rid UWA of Mike Seaway. And so this Saturday, it will be the final time that the storied tag team of TJ Blade and Mike Seaway appear together in the UWA Elite ring. And that's because it will be a no-holds-barred match where the loser leaves the company. Moving on from one faction imploding to two that seem stronger than ever. The X-Express, the Cannonball coach team of V. Daniel and Troy Locke, may not be the actual co-presidents of the UWA, yes, we checked. They did claim a huge victory at setting the standard, cementing their spot as #1 contenders to the UWA Elite Tag Team titles, held by Eddie Thomas and Jay Evans, pretty freaking ugly. Now, Thomas stopped into the Locke-Daniel celebration to congratulate them, trade some mostly friendly barbs with the two young challengers, and let PFU's opponents know that the X-Express needs to bring everything they've got to Dangerous Uprisings, or else the champs will be extremely disappointed. Now, personally, I don't think V and Troy needed that much encouragement, but you can bet it will be a high-energy, high-flying matchup this Saturday, when the #1 contenders, the team of Troy Locke and V. Daniel, the X-Express, cash in their #1 contender spot and go up against UWA Elite Tag Team Champions, Jay Evans and Eddie Thomas, pretty freaking ugly, with the tag titles on the line. And speaking of cashing in their spot, there's another faction that is making some big waves, both in the ring and backstage, thanks to the hardware they carry with them. I'm talking about the Do or Die Posse, KTB, Robbie Roller, Big Dan, and Advisor Cypress, and that golden ticket briefcase that they claimed at last breath. Well, they have declared that not only will the UWA Elite Army have the opportunity to be in their presence at Dangerous Uprisings, but they will also have what they are calling a major announcement regarding the tag team golden ticket. Now, with that golden ticket, any combination of the 3, or 4 if Cypress wants to get his hands dirty again, can challenge for the titles at any UWA Elite event at any time of their choosing. Will they finally reveal their timeline, or will they continue to keep us guessing as to what their grand plans for the golden ticket are? We'll find out at Dangerous Uprisings. Now, before we leave the topic of the Do or Die Posse behind, there's a big matchup to discuss first, and that matchup features Big Dan Wynant. See, during an interview with Shannon May following Jungle Jim Wilder's victory over Eric Corvus at Setting the Standard, Wilder was talking about running through factions. He also pointed out that, despite the golden ticket, the Do or Die Posse had no actual championships among them. The UWA Elite Hall of Famer Big Dan took offense to the insinuation that they could only be successful by outnumbering their opponents, and delivered an uncomfortably extended beatdown, technically one-on-one, on the young Iron Man champion. Well, the contract has been signed, and now Jungle Jim Wilder will be defending that Iron Man championship belt against the man that attacked him. With the golden ticket announcement planned for Saturday as well, the Do or Die posse could potentially leave South River with a few title belts. Or they could prove Wilder's no gold observation correct. We'll find out the fate of the Iron Man title this Saturday, when champion Jungle Jim Wilder puts his championship on the line against the Do or Die posse's Big Dan at Dangerous Uprisings. In other championship singles action, I-champion Bulldog Pittman, fresh off of his hard-fought victory against Sean Damage McNellis, was confronted by the Red Lion himself, the harbinger of the Great Awakening, King Tech. Now eventually the two were able to communicate enough that Bulldog somewhat reluctantly accepted the match against Tech, but later said Tech just went about it the wrong way, not with a request or a challenge like Damage or others have done before, but demanding. Now with the Mad Queen's voice in his ear literally ordering the Red Lion to put down the dog, Tech referred to himself as the weapon of the new gods, dreaming of annihilation. Bulldog responded, promising to show the fans who the real king of UWA is. This Saturday, April 26th, King Tech and his Mad Queen will seek to take the UWA Elite I-Championship belt from around the waist of champion Bulldog Pittman, and you can see it live at Dangerous Uprisings. Now, with all of this talk of double crosses, golden tickets, and who holds those UWA Elite Championship belts, let's not lose sight of the fact that glory and accolades are not the only reason for challenges to be issued. Sometimes it's miscommunication, sometimes it's strategic, and sometimes it's mocking a defeated team claiming they are bickering like an old married couple. Well, that is exactly the observation that the Lost Boys lobbed at Michael Massacre and Chris Steeler, the Just Us League, following setting the standard. To say Steeler took offense is an understatement, and pretty much the entire locker room was needed to separate the two teams. Folks, there's not a whole lot of analysis for this one. Yes, the teams have faced off before, but that was for rankings, for title chases. This one is just our three guys against your three guys, and let's see who's left standing. Max Bain is making his return to Massacre and Steeler's corner this Saturday at Dangerous Uprisings for a 6-man tag team grudge match featuring the Just Us League against Eighth and Promise, Ryan Rise, and Miles Penn, the Lost Boys. Now, the UWA Elite Championship is always surrounded by scheming, controversy, jockeying for position, and possibly even leapfrogging the other contenders. And this last bit is precisely the thing grinding the gears of UWA Elite champ Joey Adams. Well, one of the things anyway. See, the anti-hero also seemed a bit surprised by the reaction he got from the UWA Elite Army at setting the standard during his victorious title defense against challenger Corey Dillinger. He's reaching out to the fans, reminding them that his time with the Old Guard was contractually obligated, forced. And he's trying to maybe not forget that part of his 2024 season, but at least reassure us that he's the same Joey Adams we've seen in years past. And as for that other thing, well, Adams took exception to what he referred to as Matt Vertigo declaring himself the #1 contender to the UWA Elite title, sticking his nose where it didn't belong. But on Vertigo's side of things, he helped Corey Dillinger get that title shot through the tag team victory at setting the standard. So by his estimation, the New York Drip is just about as much claim to that contender spot as anybody else. Now, Vertigo called out the anti-hero's concern for the fans' reaction, saying he should be more concerned about his next opponent. He described Adams as having been his first real test in professional wrestling, but now that balance has shifted, and it's Vertigo who is the litmus test for Adams. The challenger claims the champ has a lot more to lose than just the title belt, and I can't say I disagree. But also keep in mind the discussion on commentary from setting the standard about how many people have underestimated the anti-hero, much to their speedy regret. Now, will Vertigo meet that same fate at the hands of Adams? Or will we see the New York Drip claim UWA Elite Championship gold once again? This Saturday at Dangerous Uprisings, the UWA Elite Champion, the anti-hero, Joey Adams, goes one-on-one against challenger Matt Vertigo, the New York Drip, and the big belt is on the line. Well, this might be the longest I've gone on a card rundown in years without mentioning the name Ty Thomas. And there's very good reason for that. You see, the war between the current and former members of the contingent rages on, but at Dangerous Uprisings, it's contained to a single match. the Cell Block 6 match. That's right, the fan favorite number 1 contender matchup makes its return, and we now know the names of all 6 participants. Now, as you might have gathered, the first 3 are indeed BT Bull and Eric Corvus of the contingent, along with former member Ty Thomas as well. The UWA cameras caught up with Corvus and Bull after their setting the standard setbacks, and we heard their plans to improve their communication, getting on the same page now that Nick Kay isn't doing the strategizing anymore. Their confusion turned to elation, however, once Shannon May informed them that they were the first 2 entrants into the Cell Block 6 match. Now, whether that decision was made due to history, legacy, political power, or anything else, Ty Thomas was mystified, begging anyone who would listen to make it make sense. How are Corvus and Bull given the first 2 Cell Block 6 spots? Corvus lost to Wilder, and Bull lost his hair to Ty Thomas. The only way he sees to right this wrong is to enter the Cell Block 6 match himself. Ty is gambling on himself, he says, going all in on becoming UWA Elite Champion once again. So that's half the lineup, but we've still got 3 spots to fill. Flash Carter was quick to throw his hat in the ring, saying that while he had a great time helping Pretty Freaking Ugly, he has his sights set on an individual title, the UWA Elite Championship. And since he has no real scores to settle in the Cell Block 6 match, he's the only one not preoccupied, the only one with a clear head to focus on winning. Now, entrant number 5. Well, you can't have a proper Dangerous Uprisings without SDM making an impact. At least that's what the man himself has declared. Yes, Sean Damage McNellis promises to leave his mark on the event as well, and a Cell Block 6 victory would certainly do exactly that. After a few eerily accurate impressions of his already announced opponents, McNellis promised to meet entrant number 6 in the ring to make him feel included too. And who is that final entrant? Well, after losing his UWA Elite Championship match at Setting the Standard, Corey Dillinger is looking to get right back into the title picture by becoming number 1 contender to that championship once again. In fact, the Diligent One says he holds no ill will toward Matt Vertigo for the New York Drips challenge to champ Joey Adams. In fact, Dillinger floated the idea that Vertigo against Dillinger for the UWA Elite Championship could still happen, albeit with the champ and challenger flipped from his original plan. But before that, Dillinger, and frankly all 6 of the match's entrants, have a pretty big hill to climb before claiming that number 1 contender spot. You see, when the Cell Block 6 match begins, 2 randomly selected participants will start in the ring, and the other 4 will be restrained, handcuffed to the ring posts at ringside. Every 3 minutes, one of them will be released from their handcuffs and enter the match. Now, this is a 6-way elimination match, so the last entrant has a pretty significant advantage. Then again, they could come into the match to face 5 others ready to gang up on the freshest competitor to even up the odds a bit. With the number 1 contendership on the line, the 6 competitors once again will be BT Bull, Eric Corvus, Ty Thomas, Flash Carter, Sean Damage McNellis, and Corey Dillinger. The Cell Block 6 match is coming your way this Saturday at Dangerous Uprisings. Multiple championships, a grudge match, a number 1 contender match, a loser leaves UWA stipulation, and of course the Cell Block 6 match. They're all happening this Saturday, April 26th at Dangerous Uprisings. Doors open at 6 p.m., bell time is 6:30 at the UWA Elite Army Base at the South River VFW, 31 Reid Street in South River, New Jersey. Follow us on all of your favorite social media outlets and visit us at uwaelite.com to get your tickets. Now don't forget, this is our Dino-tastic celebration, so dress in your Dino best and watch for those ticket giveaways for Field Station Dinosaur and Edelman Fossil Park and Museum. Until this Saturday, UWA Elite fans, this is the man of 1,000 spreadsheets, MC Hale, saying I will see you at ringside.
Dinosaur rose in the heart of night. Cell Block 6 fights where shadows ignite. Dangerous uprisings in the dark, chasing echoes, leaving a mark. Fighting for freedom, stakes ever high. Dinosaurs roaring beneath the sky. Handcuffed and bound in the cage they clash. Loser must leave a final harsh crash. Dangerous uprisings in the dark, chasing echoes, leaving a mark. Fighting for freedom, stakes ever high. Dinosaurs roaring beneath the sky. And when the lights fade, will you stand tall? Fight through the chaos, will you risk it all? Dangerous uprisings in the dark, chasing echoes, leaving a mark. Fighting for freedom, stakes ever high. Dinosaurs roaring beneath the sky.